Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, we'll be doing the in-depth review with the pros and cons for this OnePlus X. And I have been testing this device for a couple of weeks, and now we have got the latest update, which also enables the SD card functionality. And I'll state the pros and cons in this review. But before we continue, let me give you a configuration overview. This OnePlus X is powered by the Snapdragon 801 chipset, which is a quad-core processor clocked at 2.3 GHz. It has 3 GB of RAM, 16 GB of internal storage. Moving to the screen, it sports a 5-inch 1080p screen, which is actually an AMOLED screen. It has Gorilla Glass 3 protection and 3 gigabytes of RAM. The rear facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter. The front facing camera is a 8 megapixel shooter. It has a 2525 milliamp hour battery, but that is sealed inside. So here if you have this OnePlus X, and you'll notice that it's made up of glass. The back is also glass. It's Gorilla Glass 3 and the front is glass. So one thing that I have noticed is that it becomes sort of a fingerprint magnet and you have to constantly keep cleaning it. And let me actually give you a physical overview. As I've already mentioned, it's puts a 5-inch screen and it's an AMOLED screen. And the screen quality is actually really good. As you can see, the blacks are really inky blacks. So the panel that OnePlus has put is very good. Also in terms of looks, looks very premium, I would say. This is metallic, so gives a very premium feel, and it feels very solid in the hand. On the top, actually, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. This is the secondary noise cancellation microphone, and we have this is the slot where you'll put your nano SIM, 2 nano SIMs or a micro SD card. It's a hybrid slot. This is the volume rocker, power on off button, and they give very good tactile feels. So the quality is very good. They give a very satisfying clicky feel, and it also has sort of a texture on this, the power button, a slight texture. On the bottom, we actually have 2 vents, but the speaker is only on one side. We have the micro USB slot that'll be used for charging, and it also supports USB ODG. And on this end, again, we just have this slider, which is alert slider, what OnePlus likes to call. Let's say I want only priority interruptions. I can just slide it. As you can see, this is all notifications, priority, and let's say I don't want to be disturbed, and that is the way. So very handy feature to have that. And regarding the Android version, it runs on Android Lollipop. Let me actually show you. And if you go to about the device, as you can see, it's running on the Android version 5.1.1. That is Android Lollipop. And OnePlus team has hinted that in early 2016 we should be getting the Marshmallow update also. And but it's a custom UI, that is Oxygen OS they call it, and it's currently on the version 2.1.3. Another thing is that as of now I'm using the physical buttons, but you can easily go and change to virtual buttons if you would like. But again, the back buttons, these physical buttons are not backlit, so you have to be aware of that. Let me actually show you. If you go to the buttons option, you can actually enable the on-screen button. So you have that functionality, and you can also swap the buttons. Even the physical button we can swap. For example, by default this was actually the back, but I've changed it to multitasking tray, so you can do that. So again, we have some customization. We also have themes and stuff that we get with Oxygen OS, but for the most part I would say it is very similar to stock Android experience, and it is very fluid. It runs it very well in my opinion. And one thing that is different is that with stock Android, if you just go to this left, you get Google Now, but you get this new interface that is custom, and this just lists your frequent apps and the frequent contacts that you call. So it's handy, I would say. You still have Google Now. If you want, you can access that. That functionality is still there, and it works very well. For example, what's the weather like? And again, as I mentioned, though it has a single speaker, it's loud, but you can easily block the speakers. I'll talk about that later on. Now, as I've already mentioned, the UI performance is really good. Though it's running still the Snapdragon 801 chipset, which is slightly old, but with that 3 gigabytes of RAM, it handles it very well, I would say. Now, if we move to storage, the internal storage is 16 gigabytes. That we get, and we don't have any 64 gigabyte model or something like that. Let me actually show you the storage. and we can add a micro SD card. And now with the latest update, it is detected. Earlier we had some issues, and it also has USB OTG support. But one thing that I have found currently is that if you try to move the apps to the SD card, you have an option, but many of the apps started giving me problem if I did that. For example, I moved some of the apps to the SD card, but for example, these were some big games, but now as you can see, when I try to invoke those games, they simply do not run. So as of now, I would say do not try to actually move the apps to the SD card. After it gets the Android Marshmallow update, then it might be a good option to do that. So the SD card works very well. For example, this is the file ES File Explorer third-party app, and this is my SD card. So you can access the files on the SD card without any issues. So use the SD card for dumping your movies, MP3 files, etc. as of now, but don't use it to move the apps directly to that, because that is sort of broken as of now. Now, moving to the camera, the rear facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter, whereas the front facing camera is an 8 megapixel shooter. And I have to say the camera performance is above average. And definitely if we start to compare it with the OnePlus One, the camera is way better compared to the OnePlus One. Also, if we start to compare it with the competition as of now in this price point, I would say the camera performance is very good. But again, if you start to compare it with the flagships, then yes, you might be disappointed. But considering the price to performance, I would say the camera performance was above average in my opinion. Now moving to gaming, I did some gaming and I've also posted a dedicated gaming review, and I would say the gaming performance is very good. When I did that gaming review, Asphalt 8 was a little bit choppy, but now with the latest update, I would say it runs very well. So even in terms of gaming, it performs well, but again, it can get a little bit hot after gaming. Also, as I've mentioned, USB OTG also works fine with this device. So as you can see, it's a very interesting handset. But now let me break down this device between the pros and cons so that you can decide if this device is for you or not. Let's start with the pros, or the things that I like. The first thing that I like is that it has a physical LED notification light and it actually works very well. And the second thing is the styling. It's a compact phone. It easily fits in your hand. And in terms of styling also, I would say the phone is very stylish. Also in terms of cellular call quality, I didn't make a lot of cellular calls, and the cellular call quality was very good and I had no problems regarding reception. Now moving to the camera again is above average if we start to compare it with other devices, but considering the price point, I would say both the front facing camera as well as the rear facing camera do perform very well. Now again, moving to the screen quality, though it's just a 1080p screen, the screen quality, that's an AMOLED screen, is very good. Even in terms of color reproduction, the screen quality was very good. So the screen that OnePlus team has put on this OnePlus X is excellent in my opinion. Also, now can be a pro and this can be a con also. The SIM slot, I would say OnePlus touts this as a dual SIM device. Yes, you can put actually two nano SIMs on this one, but it's sort of a hybrid. For example, the second slot can be used as a micro SD. So if you're a person who likes to have dual SIM plus micro SD, that is not possible. So a combination of just dual SIM or one primary SIM and one a micro SD card can be used. So this can be said as a pro and a con. But as of now, I would say the micro SD card cannot be used as storage for apps, as I've mentioned earlier. But with Android Marshmallow, I think so when it comes, you can use the micro SD card as internal storage. For example, that was the same case with the Moto X also. Now it has got the Android Marshmallow update, and now the SD card can be used as internal storage. So it's a good thing to have micro SD card. Now let's move to some of the things that I really did not like, and these are the cons. Though the phone is very stylish, I would say, but it is one of the most slippery phones that I have used. Even on the desk, it just vibrates. So you have to be really careful with this device. Next is now this situation has improved a lot. When I got the OnePlus X earlier, it used to get hot very quickly. Now after this update, the heating issue is in control. But again, yes, even with the normal usage, if you use the phone for web browsing and stuff like for about more than 5 minutes, it tends to get a little bit warm. It does not get that hot, but yes, certainly it tends to get a little bit warm due to the nature of this glass pack. So you have to be aware of that. Also, though it does not take a lot of time to charge, but it does not have the Qualcomm quick charging. that is supported on many other devices. So you have to be aware of that. Also, in terms of battery life, I would say the battery life is not terrible. It has a 2525 milliamp hour battery, and I would say in my day-to-day usage, I could get a screen on time between 3 to about 3.5 hours, and this is with full working day, that is over 18 or 19 hours. So it can easily last for a full working day. But again, if you start comparing it with the OnePlus One, then you would be disappointed. The OnePlus One has far better battery life. But again, if you start comparing it with other devices like the Galaxy S6, I would say it does perform better in terms of battery life compared to some of those devices like the Galaxy S6. So I would say the battery life is sort of above average, but not that great. Again, another thing is that yes, you can add virtual buttons to this one, but the physical buttons are there. I actually like the physical button, but the thing is that with the physical buttons, you don't have any backlighting. So that is one thing I did not like. Also, the speaker, though it has just a single speaker and it's loud, but the placement of the speaker is in very awkward position. For example, if you're holding the phone like this and gaming, you can completely block the speaker. So these were some of the cons with the OnePlus X. But overall, I would say considering the price point of this device and the pros that I have mentioned, and certainly it's a very good device, particularly for people who want a stylish phone and a compact size phone that can easily fit in a single hand. And if you are a person who's looking for such a kind of a device, you can certainly have a look at this OnePlus X. And this OnePlus X is sold in India via Amazon. It sells for around 17,000 rupees. I'll have the links of Amazon in the YouTube show notes. So if you are purchasing this OnePlus X in India, do use my link. It helps the channel. I hope this video review was helpful. I've also posted dedicated videos regarding its camera performance and its gaming review, so you can check out that for more info. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video.